Well, this isn't my usual backdrop or getup. Yeah, for those of you that haven't seen in that video up there, I'm kind of in between living corridors right now, so I'm actually filming this in my father's basement because I'm cool like that. But yeah, I needed to talk about this one. I had actually been given this album ahead of time to talk about earlier, and I just didn't get a chance to do that, so here we are now. So yeah, let's dive into this deep space opera adventure. Beyond by Hibernal. So Hibernal is from the brainchild of Mark Haley. Mark Haley helms from Australia. This outfit is kind of like a half radio play, half space opera outfit. Very, very sci-fi. This is his fifth outfit of this type of music, and the music is more of like a post-rock, space rock, very atmospheric, very impressionistic. Every album that he's done up to this point is instrumentals that have a narrative flow throughout it, and narrative, in fact, that he hires voice actors to come on and perform. Here we have the usual two suspects. Scott Gentle is the main man in this particular story. Felina Hopkins plays kind of the leading woman's role on here. They play really, really well together. The two feel very natural in their roles. And these guys have been performing with Mark pretty much not quite from the beginning. They weren't on the first album, but definitely from the second album of Replacements, and then After the Winter, and my personal favorite of The Dark of the City. And so now we find ourselves with Beyond. And so this is going to be a really interesting review because half of it I'm going to be talking about kind of the storyline, and the other half I'm going to be talking about the music that's found on it. The music and the story, you can't really separate the two. The two kind of go hand in hand, and that's part of the reason why I love Hibernal. I love it because of the story that's taking place, very sci-fi, and this one is very space sci-fi in that respect. Also very like intellectual, very twist and turny, and also there's a little bit of the cheese factor to it as well that we'll get into. So what do we find with the story of Beyond? Well, Beyond is the story of a crash-landed pair of astronauts that find themselves investigating this rift within space. They have to kind of regroup in order to become saved because they're running out of O2. That's the basic story. This one is, I think, out of all of his stories, the most simplistic. It's the most comprehensible, but it's also kind of the weak point of this album. Whereas in past albums there was a lot of twists and turns, and there was a very realized world that we were playing in. Like, I could go to any of these worlds in my mind and really know what to expect here. Within this, I don't exactly know the territory that these characters are on. It's never really made explicit if it's a moon, if it's an asteroid, if it's a deserted planet. I'm never really told where they are in the story, and that does weaken the imagination that I'm bringing to the table in terms of, well, what does it look like? What am I in here for? They do explain the territory, so it's a very moon-like environment, but I don't know if it's the moon or if it's a moon of a different planet. Like, I do know that they left Earth, but I don't know where they went to, outside of just this rift, this void. I think a little bit more explanation and narrative storytelling would have really helped just kind of bring about where the setting is. And also, the characters in this one were a little bit flat. Their narration that they were given don't really give us too much hints about their past life. We only get a little snippet here and there about these characters' interactions with each other. Like, we do know that they've known each other for a very long time, and it's kind of the narration that they have between the two. Outside of this one little line of, I should have said I loved you more, and when we were in training, we always said that we would never abandon one another. We're in it until the end. And that was really all there was in terms of a formation of a relationship within these two people. And I felt like the relationships that we had in the past albums were a little bit stronger. We had a little bit more to go off of. We could definitely feel that these two had a past. And also some of the things that have happened within this. There's one stint, without going into too much spoilers, because half of it is actually uncovering and listening to the whole radio play, where the lead character falls into a crater, and it does take up quite a bit of runtime, and I feel like it's not really needed all that much. It doesn't really advance the plot at all. The music that goes with it in this point, it doesn't elevate any kind of risk factor. It doesn't elevate any kind of emotion as well. It just kind of keeps the bass line. And I think that's a very good transition into the actual music that is found on here. In terms of atmospheric music, in terms of background music, it is brilliant and I love it. It is Hibernal at their best. But in terms of bringing forth the emotive that's going on in the scene, in terms of bringing forth the emotional impacts or conveying the narrative through the music, I don't know if it really captures the essence of what Hibernal and Mark are hoping for. I do like that the beginning piece and the end piece of this really bring about this isolation, this lost in space feeling. There's a lot of emptiness that's found on this album, and I think that's to its advantage, and I think that's the point. We are lost in space within this particular story. We are floating out, and there's a lot of isolation. There's nothing but these astronauts and space all around it, and there are a number of moments where Mark really shines the light on this moment and this emptiness, this vast space, and it makes the overall enjoyment of the album elevated. It really puts me into the story and where we are. But outside of those few moments, I don't really feel all that engaged. I don't feel like the music really brings about that emotion that I'm hoping for. Like the moment where he slips and falls into the crater, I don't feel a sense of emergency that's in the music. I don't sense this fear that the lead character is supposed to feel. I feel almost detached from him because the music that's surrounded is very, very similar to the music that we've heard up to that point. There's very little variation in the music as well. Like, I feel very point and center within this album. And in some respects, it makes for a very unified listen. It feels like a very complete whole of an album, but it also feels a little lackluster in terms of the range of emotions. Like when the lead character near the end point is feeling this giant range of emotions and it is switching on and off very, very fast, of relief, of pain, of betrayal. The music, that's a perfect moment for this music to really blossom and really take on this otherworldly shape, to really not only feel the isolation, but also the different emotions that we have. And I never really felt like the music really got it. You know, I never really felt like the music was just like there. And so that was a little bit of a letdown. Overall, this was still a fantastic outfit. I definitely don't think it's his best because Hibernal had been going off of such a great streak right up from Replacements, and then putting out After the Winter the next year, and then In the Dark of the City 2 years after that, and now we had to wait 3 years for Beyond. I feel like there was just a little too much time and not enough substance going on that. I really wanted to praise this album because I love Hibernal, and I think that Hibernal is doing such an amazing work, and I love this outfit and I love the albums that he's been producing. This one was just a little bit of a letdown, and I'm really hoping that when I return to this album later on this year that I'm getting a little bit more out of it. I hope that there's something that I'm not quite getting right yet. I hope it slides into place as the year goes on. So yeah, this is an album that at this moment I would stream. It's one that I still would recommend checking out if you're a fan of this type of narrative storyline, if you're a fan of this sci-fi radio play, atmospheric sci-fi music. You're going to get a kick out of it, like I did. Like, I still really enjoyed my time with it. I just think that Mark had raised the bar a little bit with In the Dark of the City and After the Winter and with Replacements. I think these 3 albums back to back to back really elevated the expectations for this album, and it just came up under par. So this is a stream. It's still a recommendation if you're into this kind of music. If you're not into this kind of music, I'd actually recommend checking out one of the other albums first, seeing if it's your jam, and then going to this one. So that's about it. What did you guys think of Beyond? It is now out, so have a listen to it. It's on Hibernal's Bandcamp. I believe it's going to be on Spotify soon, which is my platform of choice. Go check it out. Support Hibernal. Fantastic, fantastic outfit. Go and do yourself a favor and check it out. And that's about it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll probably do 1 or 2 more album reviews in this setup, and then I'm going to try to find a more forever home. But yeah, bear with me as we go through this rocky transition together. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. As always, you guys are definitely the best. And until next time, notes out.